On today's episode of Locked On Suns, part 10 of our season preview series, looking at the relationships among the Suns superstars. Can they be better than they've been for these guys in the past? What can we watch for this season? Talk through all of it. Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we're back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 7 seasons. A writer at Suns.com and the host of the Just Basketball Show wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen to close out your week. Happy Friday. The weather is nice. Thank you for joining us. Hit follow or subscribe wherever you're finding the show. We're free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including YouTube. If you want to become an everyday or get locked onto the Suns along with a community of thousands, we're not quite past 10,000, so I won't lie to you guys, but it's a lot. Become one of them. Hit that button. Be here for you daily, Monday through Friday, from now through the rest of time. Today's show is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Love Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. Enter the promo code LockedOnNBA for a free water bottle with any purchase. You won't want to take them off. That's their promise. More from Bird Dogs later in the show. Aaron Edwards is joining us. Phoenix's hottest comedian is back on the show after a wild weekend of hosting and writing and all the rest. We're going to talk about Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. It's one thing to talk about on the court fit. It's another, I think, with off the court fit. It's a little harder to know, but as we've seen with a lot of quote unquote super teams, it's sometimes what is just as important. So the reason that I wanted to start with this, Aaron, or the reason I wanted to talk about it, where I want to start, we'll get to some of what Devin Booker said to GQ today, but I actually think the Booker-Chris Paul relationship went about as well as you could possibly have hoped for. Like, I think that was a question. And I think, though, I mean, not like anybody had a doubt about it, but we weren't sure. It was kind of out of nowhere at the time. And then we heard more and more that they had a relationship and it got closer and closer. But I don't think that was ever the problem. So Book is kind of 1 for 1 here heading into a big season on that side of things.
I mean, his approval rating amongst a lot of basketball players, that's like the one thing that was always the case is like, they call Booker the Hooper's Hooper. Like, all the NBA guys loved him, and they loved to use. Dame had like a love for him from the beginning. Like, I think that was never like the tough part. Chris Paul said he came here for Book. Like, they know his personality already. They know he likes to hoop. So I think that was probably like that's one of the biggest sales, and we're gonna get to it later. But KD loves to hoop. He will hoop regardless. He will hoop. And if you at a park, he will hoop wherever a basketball is. And I think he saw that in Book. And I think the thing that Chris Paul saw was just a dude that kind of won't take any shit from anybody. And he kind of liked that too, because a lot of the times Chris Paul had to be the bad guy. And he had no problem being the bad guy. But I think having another dude that also didn't have a problem doing it was good for him. And he probably liked that the most.
Yeah, we talked about this. People will have heard it. Hopefully, by the time they're listening to this, did it earlier today with Dwayne Rankin, and he was talking a little bit about some of this as far as, you know, Chris was the bad guy, so to speak, on this team. Like, he had no problem being the one to kind of lay it on a teammate, even if it was a vet like Jay Crowder all the way down to a young guy like Ayton. But it remains to be seen what the kind of totem pole of leadership is going to be here, and maybe we can get into a little bit of that. Booker did speak with GQ Sports, another promo for the shoe. I don't know why they're doing it so early, because the shoe's still not supposed to come out for a while, but salute to GQ for getting an interview, I suppose. But at the very end, he was asked about what he's looking forward to, and I think what he did say does speak to just reiterating what we kind of already know about him. He said, you know, it's an iron sharpens iron mentality, keeping it highly competitive, respect, mutual respect, and then it's a domino effect that everyone else will follow suit if they see the stars getting after it. Do you think, I kind of think Book is giving himself short shrift there a little, because I think he actually has evolved into more of a vocal leader over time. Not that he's going to sit there and get into all that, in an interview like this, but I do feel like he's gotten better there. But do you think somebody has to step up for this team if we're thinking about how they're all going to fit together? Do you think it has to go where one of these guys is the clear kind of top dog in the locker room, or do you buy that it can be kind of egalitarian, equal, everybody just does their thing and it all kind of turns out for the positive?
I think since Book has been here so long, it's automatically, the eyes are probably automatically going to go to him. He's been in the building longer. He knows the front office. Well, probably not this front office, but he knows the lay of the land a lot better. I don't know if he can just come out and outwardly just be big boss dog. These are new people. I'm not sure if they even have a real group chat with each other yet. This is a new team. This isn't last year's team. This is so many new parts that kind of got to get acclimated to him and his personality and stuff. Even if he wanted to, I don't think he can go straight into being the boss mode because he doesn't know these people. Mm-hmm. He has to really get used to it first.
Yeah. The more, we talked about it a little bit a while ago with who the kind of instigator nonsense starter guy was going to be on this team, the Patrick Beverley, the Jay Crowder, the people like that, that a lot of championships teams do have. You look to Boston and they're all kind of worried what happens now that Marcus Smart is gone. Grant Williams too. Yeah. Although I don't know if everyone else thought he was that. He thought he was that. He did get into it with Jimmy Butler. So there, he did put his money where his mouth was, but I don't know if he was a leader there, but yeah, those types of players. And I don't know if you have to have one. I do think it helps. But I don't know if Denver had one, I guess you would probably say Bruce Brown was sort of that on the court.
It was Bruce Brown. I think it was Bruce. I think the
was he leading those guys? He was there for a year.
Yeah, the instigator part. I know Lakers fans and Lakers players hated him. I think he was that person that annoyed him. And I think if you want somebody to come off the bench and do that, technically that one season campaign was that for us. He was the annoyance and the trash talker and the one that just kind of got under your skin. But I don't think we really have one of those now.
Well, so those I think are kind of two different roles then, right? Because I think some of what we're talking about is the on-court stuff, and it can sometimes be the same person, but there also needs to be somebody to fill that more of the Chris Paul void. And I think part of it with Vogel here is that he's a little bit less of a bring down the hammer type of coach. I think Monty was in a more reserved way, but I also don't think anybody ever really tried to cross Monty, even though he wasn't going to scream at them. He was also very clear, I think, about who his favorites were and if you were in his doghouse and all the rest. So I don't know if that's Vogel's style. I think, though, we were talking with Dwayne about, I was talking with Dwayne about the superpower of James Jones, and I've said this a million times, being that he can kind of meld to any type of coach or owner or star player. In this case, it's been Book the whole time, but that he needs to. And I think that we might not have even a long time ago, 5 years ago, whatever, we were all sitting around appreciating that Book was just patient and chill enough to just not ask to be traded. But it's kind of funny when you think that actually his mellowness and just patience and all that stuff actually has continued to be so valuable, where he not only is a star from a play style and everything else that guys want to come play with, but he's able to be the center of an organization without it being overwhelming or intimidating.
Yeah, I think with a lot of star players, you know what their agents are up to, what their family is up to, all that stuff. And I think Book has played a really reserved role being a star, but we don't know if his agent is doing stuff behind closed doors or is an annoyance behind the closed doors, or we don't his family, his dad just likes hoop. And I think that part, it's everything around him that's mellow too. It's not just him. It's even how he surrounds himself.
Yeah. And I think it helps, right? Because we haven't said Beal's name much, but you even think part of the reason I was always so kind of shocked about CP and Book getting along is I'm one of these guys has children, and he's flying to LA to go take his kids to a picnic or whatever. And then Book is like, at a party with Kendall. Like, how do these people get along? I know Chris has been around this stuff for a long enough time, and he has plenty of very, starry names that he connects with. But it was just like, are these guys in the same part of their life? And it's like, probably not, but it worked out. I think Beal's the same way. Beal seems by all accounts to be largely a family man. And you look at his social media, you look at the headlines, it's just a lot of like, I have a wife, I have kids, I have some things I care about, but like, I'm not really front and center in any type of way. And I think Book has shown he can adapt to that too. So I think it will be a season of people kind of trying to connect with one another, and it's not going to be immediate or easy, but I feel pretty good about it. Let's talk about Kevin Durant, because without, we'll have a gentle conversation, but this guy obviously has a history of it not working out, whether he chooses it, whether it's chosen for him, whether it's this guy or that guy. There's always a lot of questions and concerns by the time he leaves. And obviously that's how he got to Phoenix. So we'll talk through whether this situation will be better for Durant as far as we can tell as complete outsiders next. First, today's show once again brought to you by Bird Dogs and their free water bottle, but that's not really the point. The point is that you are going to get something that makes you look incredible, and as far as living in Arizona goes, are going to stay dry, not be completely dirty and stinky all the time, which unfortunately does happen. I love these things. This is totally genuine, real. I have two pairs of shorts and a pair of pants in my closet right now. I wear them constantly. I'm working from home a lot more, and I have them on all the time. You don't get to see them in the podcast, but trust me, they're there. They have the slimmer fit through the thigh. They give you that sculpted look. They aren't made of that stiff, restricting cotton, so they're fitting slimmer, but also very flexible and nice. And then again, that anti-stink, sweat-wicking fabric that you know and love. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA or enter the promo code LockedOnNBA at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take the Bird Dogs off. That is their promise. Okay, let's talk Durant here. Aaron, if you were to just like try to summarize again, we haven't watched this guy day in and day out. I haven't covered this guy day in and day out yet. This will be everybody's first go around with him in Phoenix, including Booker and Vogel and James Jones and whatever. So we're all new here in the Valley, trying to piece together what this guy's whole thing is. But what would you say is like your best summary of like why it hasn't worked out in the other situations? What would you be if I see this as a Suns fan, I'm going to be worried type of thing? What do you feel like it's been in Oklahoma City, Golden State, Brooklyn that has not worked for him?
I think the Oklahoma stuff was just players that meshed with him. I think Russ knew he was going to be an MVP one day, and he was playing with another MVP. So I think that was always just going to be what it was. Like Russ was always going to be that guy, and KD, there were some fourth quarters where he would disappear because Russ was like, I'm the man now. And it'll be 4-minute stretches where he had to deal with that. I don't know how we can quantify not work out when you win 2 championships with the Warriors, though. Like, yes, it was dramatic, but the Bulls were dramatic. I think good teams are just inherently dramatic if they've been together for a while and you add free agency into it and dudes being able to pretty much decide where they want to go. Like, everybody knew Jordan was staying with the Bulls. Pippen wanted to get paid. Robin was nuts. Like, I think all that stuff is going to happen when teams are together for a while. So I don't think the Warriors thing was a failure. I just think that's just free agency now. Like, that's just what basketball is now. And KD maybe shouldn't have let it linger and should have just said it already that he probably wasn't coming back. I think that's what hurt the team the most and made it so dramatic was the rumors and him never clearing up any of the rumors. And Brooklyn, I don't think he really wanted Nash until Nash got there. I don't think he trusted it.
That's
I think
the weirdest
was more
thing.
Of a Kyrie thing. I think it was more of like the Kyrie thing. Like the Nash thing and just the front office thing. I think KD just wanted to be in Brooklyn for media stuff, but I don't think he really cared what they did coaching and front office wise. I think he just wanted to go to Brooklyn for work.
Yeah. It's hard to necessarily say when you walk through it the way you did. I kind of see it similar. It's hard for me to zoom out and be like, X, Y, or Z like failed, right? Because I mean, Oklahoma City, a lot of that time was the beginning of these guys' careers. You can obviously point to moves that the front office made or decisions that the coaching staff made, whether that's the Harden trade or playing Kendrick Perkins so much and everybody getting angry about that, and just the kind of lack of shooting and stuff to maximize the players. And it's like they made the finals. They were a great team for a long time, and then he left. I don't really think that's something to make a whole argument out of. Golden State, to your point, it kind of feels like in hindsight that maybe Kevin Durant always saw that as a short-term place. Like, I don't know if he ever thought he was going to play the next 10 years of his life there. Brooklyn, you could fault him for hitching his wagon to the wrong player in Kyrie Irving, and we could all make jokes about that, but like LeBron did it, and plus, Luka. I mean, Luka didn't choose it, but Luka's kind of doing the same. Like, it is what it is. It's a great player.
We're a toe on the line away from everything working out. Like, I think that if his foot is behind that line, the whole narrative is different. And so, yeah, I think yes, it all fell apart because of personalities and Harden and all that. But I think if he hits that three and knocks the Bucks out, because he was destroying them that entire series, I think we're saying something completely different.
Isn't that kind of hilarious, though, to think about that we go from not only just the craziness of that mattering to Nets fans and Durant's career and everything, but from a Suns standpoint, the guy who ends up coming here and kind of rescuing this era of Suns basketball also could have been the guy to beat the Suns in the finals 2 years ago. Like that, it's funny how all that domino effect works out. Okay, so the Le Batard show has the reckless speculation button that they hit when they want to get a little off the beaten path, let's say. And we do have some breaking news from Gambo. Not news, but we have some insight about Deandre Ayton and Damian Lillard that we'll talk about. We have to hijack our own plans for the show, but wish he would have done that like 10 minutes sooner so we could have done the show around it. It's okay. Thank you, Gambo. But the reckless speculation part of this, do you think that Kevin Durant retires as Sun? Like, just off right now, September 21st, 2023, if I just said, does Kevin Durant retire as a Phoenix Sun, do you say yes?
No.
Okay. Is it that he gets traded again on this contract, or that he plays this contract out in Phoenix and then finishes out in another team somewhere else completely?
I think he plays his contract out, but at the same time, I think if he wins a ring, anything can happen at that point. I think if he wins a ring here, he could retire or something. Like, I think after that, he loves hooping. I get that, and he'll probably play until he can't anymore. But I think he's also at that age where he probably wants to do stuff next, and a ring would just solidify stuff for him, unless he's trying to just hitch it to Book, and Book is the number one guy, and he's down to just kind of be break in case you need him kind of thing for the rest of his career. And because KD's always going to be able to get a bucket, so I think he can kind of let that go for a long time. But he's kind of unpredictable too. So he could retire if he wins a ring. He could one out after 2 years. He can not like Vogel and tweet that he wants Vogel gone. I think so many things are at play because Book is never going to do that stuff. So it's going to have to be somebody else.
I agree that he doesn't retire after this contract. That doesn't seem likely. I look at guys like Carmelo Anthony, or pick anybody, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, these people who can shoot, and if they stay healthy into their late 30s, early 40s, obviously LeBron would be on that list. Why stop? I don't even blame them. It's like a fun talking point to do every year when such and such player doesn't retire, because you just sit there and marvel at it, and it's just oh, and this stat went down, and this number is within reach, and it's just kind of cool. But I don't blame them or question it or get confused by it at all. I think he's going to be able to shoot threes and shoot from anywhere for the rest of his life until he's too old to stay healthy. And whenever that comes, I would assume he retires. But I don't think that necessarily is going to be at 37 or whatever it is. As far as if it's Phoenix,
yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, Phoenix, we always forget to take into account that people love it here. Like, so like that could be part of it too. Like once people get here, they're like, I love Phoenix. Like I kind of want to live there forever, or I'm at least going to keep my house there. I know Chris Paul just sold this, but I mean, like a lot of those people that come here are kind of stuck at that point.
Barkley, right? Like, you know, people like to be here. JJ Watt, Michael Wilbon. I mean, like, yeah, the list goes on. People in sports like to be here. That's why the Super Bowl is here all the time. You know, March Madness, everything. We're used to that here. So yeah, I mean, I guess that aspect of it has to be taken into consideration. If it's Phoenix, I mean, I think my kind of thing to keep an eye on, you know, and maybe this has been talked about by like, I don't know, KD stands or general NBA fans or people in the Northeast, but that whole Thunder brain trust just went to Washington. And if I'm just trying to guess where he might want to put a last chapter together, if the Wizards are still a complete dumpster fire and Leonsis is still a terrible owner, which we have every indication he is, and I'm not about to like change my mind just because he hired a new president of basketball operations. But if they were to get their act together over the next 3-4 years and KD was like, where can I land for a year or two? That's kind of the only other team, unless he was going to make a return to one of the places he's already played, and that's probably not going to be Brooklyn, then I just like, why leave Phoenix? Because Book's under contract past Durant. You would think there would be some opening for Beal to extend here, and there's a big pocketed ownership group here now and everything. Like, I don't really know why he would leave unless, again, things just went terribly wrong. Last thing on Beal. Does it worry you at all that things ended with Wall the way that they did, or do you think that's a John Wall thing?
I think that's a John Wall thing. Like I said, like I think that once it's more than hoop, and we know like John Wall was in the streets and he had no problem like being out and about, and that's not a problem for like to me. But I think that this was kind of more of a Hooper situation, and like I'm not sure about Beal. Like I'm not sure if he's hitting up like just any gym he can get to, but it's been pretty clear that if Book or KD can find a run, they're going to go to it. And I think that's kind of like the heart of this team. It's just dudes that love the hoop.
It feels like the Beal, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I read up on it for an hour before we hit record, but we all lived through it. It wasn't that long ago. It kind of feels similar to the Durant Westbrook thing where it's like, I think we all just liked, we kind of decided they hate each other because it's better content. Yeah. I'm not sure they hate each other. You know, like I felt the same way about Trae Young and it's a smaller scale, but like Trae Young and John Collins, I'm like they're fine. Like sometimes people just leave. It's like John Wall tore up his legs 100 times and they weren't winning and things ran their course. I mean, Wall had to get traded because he just wasn't even playing and wasn't going to be able to play anymore. But even if it had to happen sooner, I don't think I would have cared that much. Just sometimes it is what it is. All right. We kind of got off course. I wanted to get big picture, though. That's fine. I think we agree this season there's really not a ton to worry about, but I think these are all things to be considering. And I do think a lot of it has to come from Booker in some way, shape, or form. He has to set in stone what the communication style, what the leadership style, what the interpersonal stuff is going to look like. And that's because he's the best player. And to your point, as you've repeated a lot of times now, it would certainly help if somebody could step up and be a little bit of that, whether it's a veteran or a young guy that becomes kind of the heart of the team, the trash talk or whatever. They can be different guys. Eric Gordon, I think, can play a big role there. But let's talk about this breaking news from John Gambadoro as we were recording. There's already NBA stuff going viral. Hoop Central that Damian Lillard, apparently Gambo has the scoop. He's going to get traded in the next 24 hours. And more Nurkic news. So you'll have seen this already. I'm teasing it as if you're already also at 3:30 on Thursday. You're not. It's Friday morning, but that's all right. We'll talk about that next after a word from DoorDash. You know about DoorDash. If you're missing the syrup for your pancakes or just ran out of your favorite coffee creamer, with DoorDash grocery delivery, you can get what you want right when you need it. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or they'll make it right for you. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them out yourself. If you want even more value, save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a Dash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app and best-in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. I like getting groceries from services like this because not every store has its own service, and not all of them are very fast. You have to go through the hoops and everything. If it's DoorDash, they just get it immediately, bring it right to you. You can have it in time from after work, ready to make dinner, a little while later. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use the code LOCKEDONNBA at checkout. That's a limited time offer. Terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20. No minimum subtotal and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONNBA. Don't forget that's code LOCKEDONNBA for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. All right, Aaron. We'll go quick here. I know we are a little short on time, but I talked a little bit about the Nurkic rumors when it surfaced from our favorite anonymous NBA account, Dropping Dimes 20. I feel like I have a little bit of a W to hold here because I did say that if that account's tweeting it, don't ignore it. And now John Gambadoro is saying if Nurkic was on the table, he would be surprised if the Suns didn't look into it because an argument could be made that that is an upgrade for Phoenix. Your thoughts?
Have you ever seen Blazers fans tweet about Nurkic? I follow a lot of Blazers fans. They will gladly take Ayton. That's how much they want him gone. And he's coming off of major injuries. Like, I just don't see a scenario where that's better. Like, I'd rather trust Ayton to sometimes give us 20 and 20 and then disappear a couple other games because he has the ability to disappear now. And with the talent that we have, it won't hurt us as much. So I'd rather in some games that he'll go off than deal with the whole Nurkic thing.
It truly makes no sense to me, but a little bit of insight into Gambo. When he starts saying things like that, he's not scouting the Blazers. So that means that he's hearing it from somebody who has told him that he could be an upgrade for Phoenix. It's not like he has an analytics spreadsheet for Jusuf Nurkic, who he didn't care about until 2 days ago when we all started thinking about it, right? So like that's where my mind goes when I read something like that from Gambo. He also was, to give people a little bit of context, I grabbed my coffee right before we recorded, buy one, get one at Starbucks today, and Gambo was absent for the first about 10 minutes of the show because he was on the phone. And they made a whole joke and whatever out of it. And then he's like, yeah, after the commercial break, we'll jump back together and see how we want to tackle this report. And then now he comes on the air with this. So, not BSing. And of course, I do trust him at the end of the day. He's kind of a character, but he does tend to get stuff right if he actually goes to air with it. The last tweet here, Vogel needs a defensive-minded center to build his defense around, and Nurkic does fit that mold. I'd like that some of this, it's just like not true. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, Jusuf Nurkic made 63% of his shots at the rim last year. He's never made shots at the rim. He hasn't had a block percentage over 2 since the injuries really hit. He hasn't played more than 56 games since 2018-19 when they made the conference finals. This is not a healthy player. This is not a guy who's ever been known for his defense. What he is big and, skilled to a degree and can shoot. But if this becomes largely centered on Ayton for Nurkic straight up from the Suns standpoint, that would be a massive mistake. And I think it would really change how I view this team, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's how James Jones gets down either. Like, it just goes against everything that he's done so far. That's mostly like the shocking part. Like, the JaVale McGee thing was a reach, and that was like as good as a reach gets. Like, I don't think going Nurkic for your former number one close to smart. Yeah. Like, I think he reaches, but he reaches like smart.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense because, like, we know that they said no to Holmes, JaVale, and Hardaway at the draft. A million different reports have indicated that from every side. So feels pretty certain that happened. On the one hand, you're getting a more surefire center from Nurkic. Like, he's probably 20% better than JaVale or Rashawn Holmes at this point. They're different, but he's, I guess, altogether like more valuable than those guys. But at the same time, it's an equally unsure answer to that problem, and it's just one player. It's just like, it can't just be that, I guess is all that I have to say. And if they would, it makes no sense. And it's to the point where it's like, I don't want to come across like an idiot if I have to do an emergency show tomorrow and they do this, because I did that with Beal and whatever, but that was Bradley Beal. This is Jusuf Nurkic. Like, is there any argument you can think of is there another piece out there that you think could be part of this Lillard thing that you think that could make the Suns want to do it? Is it a pick? Is it cap flexibility? Like, is there any argument you can make to me to help me feel sane right now?
There's no way we get out of this with losing Ayton and getting Nurkic where we don't get laughed at on the internet for a couple of days. I think that's just how it's going to go down. I mean, I don't think we're going to do it, but I think everybody that you don't even have to know ball that much to know that that's bad. Yes, Ayton has put.
If you just heard the names, you would know.
Yeah. I think like Ayton's done stinkers in public, and everybody laughs about the rebounding thing against the Nuggets and all that. But he's still better than Nurkic. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
There has to be some element of it that we're not thinking about. There has to be some obvious, like, they're actually doing the deal for X reason. Obviously, if it was, I said this the other day, if it was possible to just get Nurkic back and send Ayton somewhere, whether that's, I guess it would be Portland, in some sort of way where they only take Nurkic's salary back, then that would cut their salary a lot. So like, that's a part that could help, but otherwise I don't get it. Hopefully there's more details. If there's even more substantial reporting on any of this, I certainly will do a bonus episode for everybody. But in the meantime, we'll just keep shrugging our shoulders. That will do it for today. That will do it for this week. That was theoretically part 10 of our season preview series that ended up getting hijacked by John Gambadoro, which we are totally okay with the news there. Hit follow, hit subscribe, get parts 11 through 13, rounding us out. Aaron and I will be back next week previewing Media Day next Friday, which will happen on Monday. Until then, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the craziness on twitter.com, and I'll talk to you next week.